Rhea arrived at the village on a day choked by fog. The air felt heavy, almost wet against her skin. Her great-grandmother's estate loomed before her, a Gothic mansion with ivy clinging to its crumbling facade. This inheritance felt more like a burden. A shiver ran down her spine. There was something deeply unsettling about this place. The village itself seemed to huddle in the shadow of the estate. Small, crooked houses lined the narrow street, their windows dark and unwelcoming. Rhea saw few people, and those who crossed her path quickly looked away. Their eyes held a mixture of fear and something else. It was pity. As Rhea stepped out of her car, the weight of countless unseen eyes settled upon her. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the rustling of leaves in the nearby forest. A single crow cawed overhead, its cry sharp and unsettling. The villagers avoided Rhea. They scurried past her with their heads down, whispering behind cupped hands. Their hushed words followed her like a chill wind. "Cursed," they hissed. "The tree. It claims them all." The village elders were even less welcoming. They refused to meet her eyes, their faces etched with a lifetime of fear. When Rhea pressed them for information, they spoke of a centuries-old legend. It was a tale of a malevolent spirit residing in a towering oak tree at the edge of the estate. The Cursed Tree, they called it. This tree, they claimed, demanded a sacrifice. It craved youth and vitality, and it would stop at nothing to claim what it believed was owed. Rhea tried to dismiss the villagers' superstition, but the house held an undeniable energy. It whispered to her in the dead of night. Cold drafts chilled her to the bone despite the roaring fireplace. And her dreams, those were the worst. Every night the same nightmare plagued her. A woman with long black hair and a face as smooth as an egg. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just pale, empty skin. The woman would stand at the foot of her bed, her silence more terrifying than any scream. Then came the physical signs. Muddy footprints appeared inside the house, seemingly out of thin air. Strands of Rhea's hair began to fall out, leaving her with alarming bald patches. She felt a constant, gnawing fear, a sense of dread that sank its claws into her very being. Something was terribly wrong, and Rhea knew deep in her gut it was connected to the whispers of the villagers and the legend of the cursed tree. Desperate for answers, Rhea sought out the village historian, Ananya. Ananya was a woman seemingly untouched by the fear that gripped the rest of the village. She lived alone, surrounded by books and ancient maps, her eyes holding a wisdom that belied her years. Ananya listened intently to Rhea's experiences. Then, with a sigh, she confirmed Rhea's fears. The curse was real, and it was bound to their bloodlines. Ananya's own family had served as caretakers of the estate for generations, protectors against the tree's evil. But they were also its victims. "The tree demands a sacrifice," Ananya said, her voice low and grave. "A ritual every generation. It's the only way to appease it." Ananya revealed the horrifying truth. Centuries ago, a woman accused of witchcraft was burned alive beneath the oak tree. Her dying curse, fueled by rage and despair, seeped into the very roots of the tree, poisoning it. The tree, corrupted by the woman's anguish, demanded a terrible price for its existence. It required a blood sacrifice from the descendants of those who wronged it. A sacrifice of youth and vitality. A shaving of the head. A ritualistic offering to appease the vengeful spirit. Ananya explained that both their families were entangled in this curse. Rhea's great-grandmother had managed to suppress the ritual, but the consequences of defying the tree were now manifesting, and time was running out. The weight of Ananya's words settled upon Rhea like a shroud. She was trapped in a nightmare, bound by a legacy of pain and sacrifice. The ritual was the only way to break the curse, to appease the vengeful spirit residing within the ancient oak. The ritual itself was simple, brutal in its simplicity. Under the pale light of the full moon, beneath the skeletal branches of the cursed tree, they would make their offering. Their hair, their youth, their very life force, surrendered to the earth. The thought of it filled Rhea with dread. But the alternative, to be haunted by the faceless woman, to be slowly drained of her life force, was unthinkable. The night of the ritual arrived, cloaked in an unnatural stillness. The air hung heavy with anticipation and dread. Rhea, her heart pounding in her chest, joined Ananya beneath the skeletal branches of the cursed tree. The ritual was a blur of emotions. The sharp sting of the razor against her scalp, the weight of the severed hair falling to the ground, the feeling of vulnerability, of exposure as her bare scalp was bared to the cold night air. As Rhea looked at Ananya, she saw a reflection of her own fear and determination in the other woman's eyes. They were connected by this ancient ritual, bound by a shared legacy of pain and sacrifice. The days that followed were filled with a strange sense of peace. The nightmares ceased. The muddy footprints vanished. Rhea's hair began to grow back, a soft fuzz covering her scalp. The curse, it seemed, had been lifted, but the tree remained. A looming skeletal presence at the edge of the estate, and Rhea couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching her, a silent, malevolent observer. One day, Rhea noticed something strange. A single green shoot emerging from the base of the cursed tree. It was a vibrant, healthy green, a stark contrast to the decaying bark that surrounded it. The tree, it seemed, was not dead. It was being nourished. Panic welled up inside Rhea. The curse wasn't broken. It had simply been delayed. The tree had accepted their sacrifice, but it was a temporary reprieve. It was biding its time, drawing strength from the earth, waiting for the moment when it could once again demand its due. Rhea looked at Ananya, and a chill ran down her spine. Ananya's eyes, once filled with hope, now held a chilling awareness. She understood. The cycle wasn't broken. It had simply begun anew. The curse of the tree lived on, a haunting legacy that would continue to plague their families for generations to come.